Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Spectrum. I am Jason Romano. We're joined today by two of Liberty Baseball's finest, Derek Orndorff and Gray Betts. Derek is starting center fielder for Liberty, and Gray Betts is the starting catcher. Derek, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Gray, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning. Yes, I like how you said that. It is morning. We got these guys up a little early to do an interview, but that's okay. We are here at this Ignite conference basically at this church across the street from Liberty's campus. And it's beautiful down here. A little rainy today, but a beautiful sight. Got a lot of people walking through, so you can hear the background noise. But this is fun for me to be able to talk to two guys who are kind of in the midst of a season right now. Off to a great start, ranked, which has been fantastic. Beat some really good teams. Derek, let's start with you. You're a grad transfer. Off to a really hot start as we record this, but why Liberty? Why was this a place that you wanted to come to, not just to play baseball, but really for something greater and more than just baseball, I would imagine?
Sure. So Liberty was always on my radar, as a young baseball player in high school, or even younger than that. So it goes back to when my dad actually started here his freshman year on baseball scholarship. So from the time I started playing and started looking into college baseball, Liberty had been on my radar. And at the time, with recruiting at the age of 16 or so, there was a coaching change, leadership change, and then recruiting kind of fell through at the time in which I committed to go to Penn State when I did. So in my time, when I transferred from Penn State after those 2 years, I looked into Liberty again. Still wasn't an option at the time, just didn't fit. So I ended up going to Seton Hill to play my next 2 years. Ended up graduating from there. And then, like I told Zach on his podcast the other day, I had a buddy, a teammate at Penn State, Ryan Sloniger, who was our catcher at the time. He had been recruited by Coach Jackson while he was at UNC. So when Coach Jackson came here, he still had a relationship with him. Slonny ended up reaching out to Coach Jackson when I was in the transfer portal after I graduated and said, hey, this is a guy you might, be interested in. Played with him for 2 years at Penn State, and then Coach Jackson ended up reaching out. So, I had a few options with grad transferring, but Liberty had always been there in my mind, and the fit was just perfect. From the time that I started that relationship, building that relationship with Coach Jackson, it just seemed like that was the guy I wanted to go to war for every day.
Yeah, it seems like it's working out so far.
Absolutely.
We got a lot of season left. Gray, as we talk here, as I mentioned, your team is ranked, team is doing well. How far do you think this team can go? You've been here a few years now. How far do you see, you've seen this team kind of grow together. You had a really good run last year. What is it about this team that makes it so special?
Yeah. I mean, obviously we have a lot of talent this year. I've been lucky enough in my time here at Liberty to be on some successful teams. So you kind of figure things out. You see what it takes to win in the postseason, and I think the biggest thing that sets us apart is just our depth. We've got a lot of veteran guys, especially in our pitching staff. We've just got a lot of talent overall, and it's that depth and honestly just grittiness and ability to compete that at the end of the year, those are what get you the big wins. Those are what win the 1-0 ball games. So just overall, our veteran guys are really just overall talented, and they're gonna be what carries us and gets us to the next level and gets us to those deep postseason games.
The Bible talks about praising one another, not yourself, and keeping humble. So I'll let you guys talk about each other for a minute. Greg, what has it meant to have Derek on this team this year, and him coming in, fitting in as sort of the new guy and being a part of this team?
Yeah, it's been incredible, especially just the start he's had. I mean, there's not a better guy for all the success and everything that's been going on so far. Not a more humble guy, not a harder worker. Derek got here this fall, and we just kind of clicked from the get-go. We both bonded, not only on a baseball level, but just spiritual level and everything. And so it's been very, very cool just to get to grow with him and learn about him and kind of do life together. But then to get to the season, see the success that he's having, it's a whole lot of fun. And it's just a testament to what he does every single day. I mean, he comes in, he puts his head down, he works hard, and he just sets the example for everyone else.
All right, Derek, your turn. What is it about Gray that makes him such a great teammate and being a part of this team with him?
Yeah, and I think that all begins in the fall when I first came in. He was, obviously one of the first guys to introduce himself, let me know that he's there for me as a newer guy. and that speaks volumes. I mean, that's what older veteran players are supposed to do in the program, and when they make it intentional to start to build a relationship with someone new, it means a lot to me. Obviously not knowing a single person coming in here, but he does the right things. He leads by example. Obviously, he's been around the program. He's got that. He's kind of bridges that gap between the coaches and the players. Builds that trust. Like I said, the only thing that really builds trust is watching what he does every day, doing the right things, the little things, even when no one's watching. And like he said, we bonded very quickly on a spiritual level, which is something rare in today's day and age, and then also just in college baseball in general. Just to speak out and be so bold and upfront about your faith, what you believe in, and I think that even pushed our friendship and brotherhood even further and quicker. Like we were hanging out every day in the fall for a long time, just because that's what you want to do. Like when you're connected spiritually, that Holy Spirit just kind of moves within you, and it just takes off.
Things move so fast in life, but in a season, how are you able to stop and pause, Derek, and just appreciate the journey, not just of this season, but of this year, right? At Liberty, you're brand new, you're here, but time flies way too fast.
Right.
And I think about 2 years ago, we were in the middle of a pandemic, and that was 2 years ago. That was like the fastest 2 years and the longest 2 years ever. So time moves really quick. How are you able to kind of understand that the moment and the journey is just as important as sort of the destination?
Sure, yeah. I think as, a younger, immature baseball player, you could say, I'm just looking forward to the next thing. It's like, okay, how can we win this inning to get to the next inning? Or how can we win this game just to get to the next one? Or like whatever's next. I find myself, I show up to the field early, one, because I'm old and older and have to stretch and get my body ready. But two,
Wait, how old are you?
I'm going to be 23 this week,
you are
actually.
really old, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
College baseball standards, I'm old. No. But I show up early just because, this is the last given, guaranteed opportunity I have to, play college baseball or just play baseball in general.
Right.
I try to show up as early as I can and just, be intentional with the relationships of, my teammates, my coaches, the staff, and just really soak that up. One thing I, have taken an intentional route about, I guess you could say, is, pregame. Like we get done stretching, we get done with our talk, and I, run to center field, and I just stand there for a bit and try to look around and take it all in, take in the smells, the sights of every ballpark we're at. And like you said, just to slow it down and enjoy the moment. And, thank God for bringing me to where I've always wanted to be. I think it's important to just kind of step back and soak it all up because it could be gone tomorrow. So just really taking it all in.
Great. Liberty is special and unique in the fact that faith is at the forefront. You can play a lot of places and be a follower of Christ first as opposed to a baseball player first. And we're going to talk about that here at this conference a little bit too later on. But at Liberty, you don't have to, I don't want to say worry about talking about Jesus or leading out in front with your faith. Tell me about that unique dynamic that you've been a part of now for a few years and being able to understand that baseball is an important thing, but it's not the most important thing.
Yeah. It's something that we talk about every single day in our program. Thank God for Scott Jackson, just the leader that he is and everything that he does for us, not only as baseball players but as men. But Liberty, I can't be more grateful for a university, for a place, Lynchburg, because just coming here, my faith was never really at the forefront for me. It was always baseball. I think it's just a very unique thing where I came in. I thought I was coming here just to play baseball and to pursue my passion of the game and the game that I grew up loving. But I got here and quickly found out that there's a lot more to life than just baseball, as we talked about. And I don't know, it's just very, very cool. It's part of the culture here where you step in and you just notice something's different. People can say you come to Lynchburg and there's just a different vibe in the air. People are nicer. It's hard to describe in words, but you can feel the Holy Spirit here, and it's a very, very cool experience. From a day-to-day aspect, I think it's really, really cool to slow down, like Derek kind of talked about, and just remember that everything's a lot bigger than baseball. It's about the relationships you're building every single day. It's about the guys, because life goes by fast, and you want to have people in your corner that you can trust and that are loyal and that are there to love you and take care of you.
Ray Betts and Derek Orndorff from Liberty's baseball team are our guests here on Sports Spectrum. Derek, let's hear your story a little bit, your journey with Christ, kind of where it took shape. I know you grew up in Pittsburgh or outside of Pittsburgh in that area. Tell me about your walk with Christ and how it's become a huge part of your life, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. So I was raised in the church from a young age. I was accepted Christ as my Savior at the age of 5. Homeschooled, so I was always around my parents, around the church. So yeah, I mean, church every Sunday, Wednesday nights, youth group, this, that, and the other. But I told Zach the other day, I think I had Christ as my Savior. I accepted him as my Savior, but I never really took him on as my Lord. I never let him rule my life until later on, in the middle of my college experience. In high school, my dad taught health and phys ed at my high school, and he was also my high school baseball coach. So, I wasn't really exposed to a whole lot of, independence. Not that I clung on to my parents all the time, but, I drove to school with my dad, went to school, baseball practice after school, went home, we, hit more, this, that, and the other. And I think whenever I got on my own, it was kind of like, okay, I'm on my own, like, how am I going to live my life, more or less? Like, what standards am I going to hold myself to? Yeah,
you don't have your parents looking over your shoulder every 5 seconds.
Exactly.
Right? You have to make your decisions for yourself.
Right. Yeah. So like my first 2 years at Penn State, obviously I still acknowledged the Lord. Like I still had my relationship with Christ, but I don't think I completely surrendered my life to Him. And I think I learned quickly, going through a lot there and deciding to transfer what I should do next in my life. That's whenever I really just gave it up to Him. And said, hey, Lord, this life is yours, these gifts, these abilities, these talents, the opportunity to play baseball is minuscule compared to, life in general. It's just a game at the end of the day. And I said, hey, it's in your hands. Like, take me wherever you want me to go. And, if it's baseball, then I will continue to use that as a platform to honor and glorify you. And I think that's really where I just allowed the Lord to work in my life and then just thank Him for whatever it was. And then obviously, looking back now in hindsight, I think just the opportunity to be here somewhere that I've always wanted to is the biggest testament to the Lord's faithfulness and, grace and mercy to be able to kind of bring it full circle after, you go through, you're on top of a mountain, then you're back in the valley, you're on a mountain, and you're in the valley. Like, I never would have imagined it working out like this, but I am more than thankful and grateful that it did. And I think that's just, like I said, a testament to the Lord's faithfulness to, surrendering, my life to Him at one point, deciding to give it to Him.
You'd never think baseball would be viewed as discipleship in some ways, but at Liberty, everything you do can be viewed as discipleship. How has that been great for you in being discipled throughout a long season? You mentioned Zach. He's your team chaplain, obviously, for the baseball team and a great guy and part of this conference that we've had here. But how does discipleship work for you? How has it worked? How has it grown and evolved for you over the last few years to a point where you're now one of the veterans on this team?
Yeah. I think it obviously stepping in as a freshman on campus, you're the one being discipled. You got the guys leading the way for you, and you're just kind of trying to fly under the radar, do as you're told, and don't ask questions. So you're just really following along, and that's where really the culture of Liberty plays in, because if you don't have guys leading in that locker room and you don't have a good core group that has value in the right things, then you're going to be leading people in the wrong direction. But then, as time goes on, as you get more and more comfortable within the locker room and just within the team, and luckily for me, I had a good freshman year. I was able to just gain a role on the field, which typically as a freshman, that's not very common. And so that just heightened my status and kind of created a little bit more of a veteran presence earlier on for me. So that gave me more of just ability and influence on guys in the locker room. And so with that it becomes more responsibility, and so you just kind of have to be aware. For me personally, it continued to just learn from older guys and take in what they have to say. the wisdom from each different guy. Everybody, I mean, I always says it just kind of takes a village. You got to have all the different personalities within the locker room because everybody brings a different skill set, brings a different value in. So you really have to take advantage of everyone and take everyone into account in order to lead effectively.
Derek, this is new for you. This is not some of the places you were before. The intentional discipleship, I have to imagine you've seen that right when you came here. And that unique atmosphere for you to be discipled as a baseball player probably doesn't compare to many other places, I would imagine.
No, it definitely doesn't. And that it is unique, and you definitely take notice of it early. I mean, it was the first week I was here, and Gray reached out to me and said, hey, we're having a bunch of the guys together. We're meeting up with Zach at Chick-fil-A at whatever it was, 7 a.m. on a Thursday morning. And like,
wait, you were all excited about that? 7 a.m.?
I was fired up. Like you don't see that.
No, of
and
course.
It's just like, hey, Friday afternoon we're gonna meet another alumni that was here.
Amazing.
Josh Barrett. Like we're gonna meet him for coffee at 1:00. Like just that type of intentionality to be able to connect you with older people, just connect you with leaders in the faith, and the opportunity to be discipled is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and and the convocations, by the way, I've never been to a Liberty convocation, but I've watched many on YouTube. And I know many people who've spoken at them. That's also unique. That's just a Liberty thing. That's not just the baseball thing.
Right.
But the fact that you guys can pack in 10 to 12 or maybe even more thousand of kids and hear a message from some of the biggest names or view a concert. I mean, the resources and the people that Liberty's able to bring in, that extends all the way down to what both of you guys have been able to experience, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, I know a lot of people at Liberty, and myself included, definitely take that for granted. Convocation really and campus community, just all the opportunities they have on campus are incredible. And they do such a great job of integrating faith and just giving you the ability to slow down in your day and refocus on what's really important, refocus on what really matters. And to an outsider looking in, I mean, it's unbelievable some of the people we have come in to speak and just the opportunities you have to learn and to hear from people.
So Gray, you're the starting catcher on Liberty. You're also the leadoff hitter. You don't hear that a lot in baseball, especially as you get to the higher levels. The catcher isn't the leadoff hitter. I think of a kid growing up. As a kid growing up, Gary Carter was my favorite baseball player with the Mets, one of them, and he was a catcher. He wasn't leading off. Mike Piazza, I'm a big Mets fan, was an amazing catcher for the Mets. He wasn't leading off. I think Craig Biggio, in the top of my brain, might be one of the only catchers that ever led off in the majors, but that's you. You're leading off. You also led the Atlantic Sun in triples last year, so that's a different animal than just your typical catcher. So help us out here. Do you even view yourself as a catcher in that sense?
Yeah. Definitely not your, I guess, typical catcher look. I'm not the big frame back there. Not a big donkey hitting home runs all the time. And so I mean, I think that's just it plays into who I am as a player and just my abilities. I like to think that I'm very self-aware of knowing what I'm good at and especially knowing what I'm not good at. And so, I'm very grateful for Coach Jackson and the freedom he's given me to be myself and to play the game the way that I like to play it because, leadoff catcher, it's not too common, but to me it's just natural. I had John Embry my freshman year who was he was leadoff catcher. And so it's all I've really ever known at the college level, and so it's expected for me. So it's just cool. It's funny when people bring it up because just another one of those things you kind of take it for granted. You see it every day, so it's normal.
Yeah, that's cool. Derek, you're at the time of this recording, you're right at the top there in college baseball in home runs. Does that surprise you? That when you even hear that, is that kind of like, wait a minute, really? This obviously because you know your production. But is that how you view yourself, as like a home run hitter, as a guy who has a lot of power, as a guy who can go deep on any pitch?
Surprised, yes, a little bit.
Yeah.
I've always had a little bit of pop, but nothing.
It doesn't surprise his teammates.
There you go. Thank you, Greg.
I don't think of myself as that type of guy.
Yeah.
Just as a center fielder. I like to be versatile in what I do. my coaches at Seton Hill think it's funny. Last year I'd hit a home run, my next at bat I'd come up and lay a bunt down, a drag bunt to third base. So I like to, I guess keep guys on their toes, but just the production early has been cool. Nothing that I've been, intentionally tried to do. I just try to go up and hit the ball hard, do damage, on pitches in my zone, and try to help my team win in whatever way I can. If it's laying down 3 bunts a game to help the team win, so be it. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, I just want to win. So
sounds like Gray would rather you swing away and not lay down 3 bunts in a game. Is that fair, Gray?
Oh yeah, it's very fair. I've never seen a kid hit the ball as hard as Derek Orndorff does.
There you go. Derek, do you want to play professionally? Would that be a goal of yours at some point?
It's always been a goal and an aspiration of mine. As a kid, just as any young ball player. I think you're crazy if you're playing college baseball and don't want to play professional ball.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just going to let the Lord lead, guide, and direct whenever that point comes. Like I said, right now I'm just where I am. I want to be where I am, where my feet are. I want to spend that intentional time with my teammates and win baseball games and win a championship for Liberty University. So
yeah, I call it a blooming where you're planted. Right, that's what you want to do, and God will take care of the rest. How about you, Greg? Obviously, it's kind of an open-ended question. Do you want to play professionally? I mean, if you asked me if I want to play professionally, I'm 48 years old. Of course I do. Who wouldn't want to? But talk about kind of blooming where you're planted and staying grounded, but still having those aspirations and allowing yourself to have those dreams.
Yeah. I think it's very important that you have big goals and you have those desires to do things that aren't normal. Just like Derek, I'd love to play at the next level if that's a door that God opens up. I think the important thing, though, as Christians especially, is just being content regardless, and just falling in love with the everyday process and showing up every day ready to work and to enjoy your teammates and to build those relationships, because that's stuff that matters. At the end of the day, the results will take care of themselves, and typically if you start to get caught up in the results, you're gonna start performing poorly and you're gonna get in your own head and you're not gonna have as much fun.
That's good. Well, I appreciate both of you guys being here. We're gonna end this with the question that we ask all of our guests on Sports Spectrum. And we like to bring Jesus and keep Jesus in the sports conversation. So, Gray, we'll start with you. Where you are, where God has you today, what's he teaching you? What's he showing you right now? I feel like he teaches us new lessons each and every day. What's the lesson he's teaching you, Gray Betts?
For me, where I'm at right now, especially in the midst of the season, is just learning to rest and just be in God's presence. I think it's very, very challenging as an athlete. For the last 18 years of my life, I've been evaluated every single day on my performance, and so just learning to truly rest in God's loving presence, because it's not about what we do, it's not about what we can accomplish. He paid for it all on the cross, and so it's very hard to fully accept that and fully rest in that. When you're showing up every day and being told, if you don't have this average, you're not going to play. If you don't do this stuff, you're not going to be a part of this team. You have to earn your rights, and so it's just thank God for His grace, His love, but just learning to fully rest in that and accept it and just be present in that.
Yeah, it's such a performance-based position that you guys both have as baseball players. If you don't perform, you're not playing, which can be very hard. And when you're thinking about your faith, which is not based on our performance, it's based upon what Jesus has already done. Derek, how about for you? What are you learning from God? What is he teaching you right now?
Sure. I think there's two things for sure that I'm learning that he's trying to show me. The first one is patience, just to be where I'm at. Like Chris said, kind of rest where you're at. It could be easy to look too far ahead, as well as the team is playing. Just to think about where we want to be. Just to be patient where we're at. Just to be patient in the current day. If it's a practice, if it's a lift, just to be where we're at, and again in my life, just to be patient where I'm at. I mentioned you earlier, like I'm looking forward to getting married in November, but November's going to be there when November's going to be there. Just to be patient and continue to grow and seek the Lord for advice in that next chapter of my life. I think the second thing that he's teaching me is to leverage, the opportunity that you're in, to leverage your life, for or being successful as a team, we're given a platform, which can be good or it can be bad. It just depends on how you choose to use it.
Sure.
I think he's just teaching me to leverage this, platform, this situation to give him praise and to give him glory, and just, try to win lives for him and his kingdom. And I think that's a really cool opportunity that not many people get to have. And it goes back to being patient and just recognizing, like, this is the moment that I'm in, and this is what I can do with the opportunity in the moments that I'm in, to bring him honor and bring him glory.
It's good stuff there from Derek Orndorff and Gray Betts. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. This was a lot of fun. I actually like the ambient noise and the background noise because it just means there's lots of things going on. And to think where we were a couple years ago where we couldn't do things like this, it's pretty cool. So I appreciate you guys both being here, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.